Nick Harris with Patrick Walker here for Training Camp Live. Another day here of 7-on-7 action here on the field in Oxnard, California. As we take a look, that's Jalen Tolbert taking a nice little quick pass to the right side. Tolbert's confidence is growing.
Yes, Tolbert's confidence is through the roof, and it has been since the beginning of last season. And you attribute that to him going back to his roots in South Alabama in that offseason, but also Brandon Cook's mentorship.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy talking this morning about Brandon Cooks and how important he is for this receiver group in the absence of C.D. Lamb, being that professional that's really helping in that room. As here's the second team with Cooper Rush at quarterback, Royce Freeman at running back. He's going to throw the quick slant, but that's knocked away by the fifth-round rookie, Caelen Carson. And, Patrick, I know you love some Caelen Carson.
I do love me some seatbelt. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. This rookie is going to do some things in 2024 and beyond.
I think you look at that cornerback room and who's probably the first option to come in case there is an injury at that cornerback position. You got to look at Caelen Carson. He's a guy that can play inside, outside, super physical, steps up in the run game. He looks really good so far 100%. Here in Oxnard. It's Cooper Rush once again taking it under center. He's going to look left, take his first read, and that is to Cam Johnson, the undrafted free agent out of Northwestern. He's made some quick plays on some quick slant routes. It's typical of that fashion.
He has, and you like to see that from the undrafted guy, and you want to see him go up against guys like Corey Crooms and really kind of make this this young wide receiver group work to figure out, you know, WR4, 5, and maybe 6 if they go to carry that many.
As now Deuce Vaughn in the backfield. This is one that has drawn a lot of fanfare here in Oxnard, trying to see what he can bring here in year two. That passes over to John Stevens, but knocked away. Really good defensive work. It looks like that was Jason Johnson, the undrafted linebacker out of UCF that was there on the play.
You know, that makes 2 plays thus far this camp for Jason Johnson. First being the first interception of camp on a tip drill off of Deuce Vaughn, and now there he is for the good coverage PBU against John Stevens Jr.
And now here's Trey Lance at quarterback. This is going to be one of the big things to watch here in the preseason. Where has Trey Lance taken that step in his development? He goes for the play action here. He's looking downfield. He's going to check it down to Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn making a couple of guys miss. Getting downfield. That'll obviously draw some claps here from the fans. And if you're just joining us, right before we came on, Sam Williams goes down with an injury in special teams drills. Definitely something to keep an eye on as camp goes on, but that's got to be a really tough blow to that edge department if it were to be serious.
Yeah, we're hoping for the best for Sam Williams. This is set to be a potential breakout season for him. Cowboys really need him. Let's keep an eye on that potential injury.
Here's Dak Prescott with Zeke in the backfield with him. He takes the quick slant to Brandon Cooks to the right side. We saw that a lot as the season powered on last year. That confidence that Dak Prescott and Brandon Cooks have with each other, it's really starting to build as they go into year 2 together.
You talk about a guy who's defeating Father Time. Brandon Cooks might have tasted that Tom Brady sauce because he is not slowing down a bit.
And now Dak under center. Playing against a 3-linebacker set, Maris Luafau, Eric Kendricks, and DeMarvion Overshone. He's going to go right in the middle, right in between that second level. That's Jake Ferguson. You've talked about Jake Ferguson potentially as a first-team All-Pro guy this year, Patrick. Talk to me about your confidence there.
I have. When you look at the steps that he took between his rookie season and then last year, it was exponential. I expect another exponential jump from Jake Ferguson. He's doing all the right things, saying all the right things, and he's just a player. Absolute gamer.
So now here's Trey Lance back onto the field. Jalen Tolbert, Kavontae Turpin, and Brandon Cooks are his receiving weapons this time around. He's going to find Peyton Hendershot across the middle of the field, right over the outstretched hands of Damone Clark. It's a really big grab there for Peyton Hendershot.
You know, I've said this once, I've said it a million times. Luke Schoonmaker not only needs to remain healthy, but he's going to push the rest of this tight end group, and that includes Peyton Hendershot. Hendershot's going to have to show that he can not only continue to make plays as a pass catcher, but maybe get in line as a blocker and show that he can do that as well.
At Trey Lance with trips to his right side, Malik Davis in the backfield with him. He's going to look to the left side on his first read. That's going to be to Tyron Billy-Johnson. He's been the guy that's made a lot of plays so far here at camp. You see that speed. He's just going to go ahead and take off all the way to the end zone, as he should. The man out of Edna Carr High School in New Orleans, Tyron Billy-Johnson.
And you love to see that. That play through the whistle, young man. Play through the whistle. Show them your speed. Show them you are not taking the play off.
As now we're getting into the team drills here for the Dallas Cowboys here in Oxnard. Offensive line and defensive lines getting on the field. Definitely a big time for these guys. The last practice before pads come on, you see the handoff there to Rico Dowdle, one of the many guys there on the running back by committee approach so far here in Oxnard.
And if you count Hunter Lipke as one, they have 8 bodies, Nick. 8 bodies at the running back position. A lot to sort out at that position going into this season.
This opportunity gives us a chance to look at Tyler Guyton there at left tackle here with the first team. Really big rep here for him as he's starting to get integrated with this first team offensive line, get some valuable reps here in Oxnard. This is play action. Dak's going to look to the middle and over to the left, and that's picked off by Eric Kendricks. Eric Kendricks was just doing some ball drills with Al Harris earlier in practice. You could see that already translating now to the football field.
And that is now, as far as the offseason program is concerned, between minicamp and today, that is now 2 interceptions that have been created by Eric Kendricks. That one he brought in himself, but back at minicamp, he forced a tip drill that Donovan Wilson brought in. So Eric Kendricks, questions about his ability to cover going forward? Shouldn't be.
The importance that he brings to this defense, help marrying the Mike Zimmer style to what the Dallas Cowboys already have in place. He's going to be huge as the green dot here this year for the Dallas Cowboys. And his leadership, it just brings a different element to this defense.
It does, and that's one reason that he's such a huge addition. Obviously, the pre-existing relationship with Mike Zimmer and helping the guys get acclimated to Zimmer's expectations and playbook. But what he does on the field, it goes without saying. He's former first-team All-Pro, and he looks very much the bit.
Here's a handoff. It's a counter handoff to Ezekiel Elliott. He's going to try to make some room behind Tyler Guyton there on the left side. You see Osa Digizua in there for the stop as well. This defensive line, they're going to have a lot of shaking around as camp goes on, especially if there is a serious injury to Sam Williams. You're going to see a lot of these guys playing many different roles, as you would like to say, piano players. They go up and down the keys, right?
And they were going to have that going into the season anyway, even with Sam Williams there, but primarily on the interior. If Sam Williams is out for a while, then add the end to that as well.
Brock Hoffman here at center. He's one of the guys involved in that center competition. Cooper Beebe, TJ Bass, Dakota Shepley, all involved in that mix as well. But it's been Hoffman getting a lot of these first-team reps. So here's a handoff to Rico Dowdle, making some guys miss there in the middle. We saw that physicality out of Dowdle whenever he was healthy last season, just to be able to kind of shed off the first guy. Some guys will make a miss, some guys will run through him.
Yeah, and Rico Dowdle, he's willing to do both. It's whichever he's in the mood for on that particular play. He can definitely lower his shoulder and drive through a guy, but he also has the quickness to get around you in space.
And here's that second team unit. You see DeMarvion Overshone there in the middle of the field with Damian Wilson. Good to see Wilson back in a Dallas Cowboys uniform. And Cooper Rush at quarterback. And a good assortment of weapons here on this play for Cooper Rush. He's going to go to the left side and find Jalen Cropper, who's immediately wrapped up by Wanye Thomas. Wanye, he's going to have an interesting role this year as well, kind of being that extra safety that'll rotate onto the field, but also a really important special teamer at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, Wanye is going to have a great opportunity here. He, for the better way to put it, he had a breakout season as far as being able to come from the practice squad in year one, earn his way onto the field in year two, and show what he can do. And he's looking to take a step forward in 2024 as well.
Yeah, if you remember the very first play of the preseason last year, Wanye Thomas picking off Trevor Lawrence back in AT&T Stadium. We'll see what he can do for an encore this year in the preseason. And there's your guy on the left side, Patrick, Caelen Carson, matched up with Racy McMath on the edge.
That's against speed.
Yeah, Cooper Rush isn't going to go to him. He's instead going to go over to John Stevens, but it's knocked away by Wanye Thomas. Who else? One way, Wanye.
And there was absolutely a reason that he did not go to Caelen Carson's side. Caelen Carson had Racy McMath strapped up on that press coverage, and fantastic coverage by Wanye Thomas to award Caelen for doing so, forcing that look over to his side, and then Wanye did the rest.
Now you see Cooper Beebe right in the middle there at the center position, snapping to he's at playing some right guard. That's Dakota Shepley there at center, snapping to Cooper Rush here on this play. This is going to be a play-action handoff. Cooper, he looked deep to start off the play, but he checks it down to his running back coming out of the backfield. And Cooper Rush, he's going to be the calculated guy. He's not going to take the risk unless it is 100% there.
Yeah, they're not going to ever call him Riverboat Cooper. Let's just put it that way.
But that's what makes him such a valuable backup here in this league, right?
Yeah,
to be able to bring in, be that system guy. It's why he went 4-1 as a starter 2 years ago whenever he was called upon in Dak Prescott's absence.
Irony of his last name being Rush, being that he never does.
So here's Rush once again under center. He's going to bootleg to the right side. He was trying to check it down to Princeton Fant, the tight end, I believe, but it falls to the ground.
A little bit of an aiming there by Cooper Rush instead of just, soft touching, letting the ball get out there and leading Princeton Fant. Kind of overthrew it just a little bit, and it bounces off of the grass.
And the ones are back on the field. You see Deron Bland. He had a big-time interception earlier this week, already trying to get his name stamped back on the interception king claim. As play action from Dak Prescott, he kicks out to Jake Ferguson, who has a little bit of room out in front of him. That probably would have been a 5-6 yard gain. That connection is just going to be so important as the year powers on, and especially here in the absence of CeeDee Lamb, having Jake Ferguson as a safety blanket.
Yeah, and going into this season, even once CeeDee Lamb's situation is sorted out with his contract and he's back on the field, I feel like Jake Ferguson is going to be one of the top 2 targets for Dak Prescott. And obviously Brandon Cooks, I believe he's going to have a big year as well. But just keep an eye on just how many targets Jake Ferguson gets.
Look on this left side, Tyler Guyton against Micah Parsons, and they're going to attack that side. On the handoff, that's Royce Freeman, the veteran who was signed over the offseason.
You know,
really
let me
cool
go
to see
ahead and
Guyton
just,
versus Parsons.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me go ahead and just point this out. A few plays ago, Nick, when you pointed out that Guyton was in for the first team and he was going up against Parsons, he walled off Micah Parsons, not only on the first step, but also on the spin move attempt. He was able to seal that left side, that blind side, protect that Prescott. And again, that's against Micah Parsons.
That's that length on display from number 60, the first-round pick out of Oklahoma. They're going to run to his side once again. This is Deuce Vaughn. The Deuce is loose. He's trying to bounce out to the left side and find some room. This is a big-time preseason for the Kansas State product here in his second season.
Yeah, unfortunately, Deuce could not get anything going for himself as a rookie. He definitely had the opportunities as the Cowboys tried to figure out their run game and try to improve it last season. This year, it's going to be a lot of handoffs, but also you'll see him probably lined up in the slot, getting some receiver work as well. He needs to just take advantage of every opportunity that he has.
Yeah, the slot aspect could be really fascinating for Deuce here in year 2. So here's Dak Prescott back under center. Quick throw to the right side. Who else? Tyron Billy-Johnson, another reception. It feels like every time that they go to number 13, he's hauling it in, man.
Listen, Tyron Billy-Johnson is giving the law firm of Jalen a run for their money. But I love to see that in the absence of CeeDee Lamb, that these young guys are really taking advantage of their targets and rewarding these quarterbacks. And they're obviously going to give Mike McCarthy and this personnel department some really tough decisions as the preseason rolls along.
Yeah, 2 receivers signed on Sunday. Kelvin Harmon out of the UFL ranks and Deontay Burnett. So 2 new bodies added to that mix. As here's a handoff up the middle. I believe that's to Nathaniel Pete, the undrafted free agent out of Missouri. He's another smaller stature guy who may look like Deuce Vaughn on the surface, but he wears a different number.
He does, and he has a little bit more mass than Deuce Vaughn has as well. But I like the first step from him on that. The lanes closed up front pretty quickly. He was very decisive. He planted that foot. He got outside and got what he could from that play, and he made sure it wasn't negative.
It's the second-team defense getting some opportunities here. A lot of undrafted free agents trying to make their stamp here in Oxnard. This is really their big opportunity here in the UFL, coming out of the undrafted ranks. And Trey Lance in at quarterback. And snapping to him now is Cooper Beebe, the rookie out of Kansas State.
Dirt, if you will.
As here's Lance. He's looking to push it downfield. Will he? And that's a completion to Racey McMath. He had to come back to the ball just a little bit, but I think that was by design by Trey Lance to be able to fit it in the hole.
And that was great timing. That's one of the things that everybody's going to be looking for with Trey Lance, not just confidence, not just the ability to make the throw, but the timing between him and the receivers. And for him to have that kind of timing with Racey McMath, and kudos to McMath as well for getting the spacing correct and getting away from the defensive backs to open that window for his quarterback.
Yeah, Racey McMath sharing an embrace with Tyron Billy-Johnson coming off the field. 2 Louisiana natives along with Kevontae Turpin in the receiving core. So here's Trey Lance once again. He's killing something at the line. He sees Israel Mukwamu sneaking off that edge. Is he going to rush the passer or stay back in coverage?
Mike Zimmer.
And there's Nathaniel Pete. We talked about him a little bit of a shimmy there from Pete.
I love his decisiveness. I said it a moment ago, and I'll repeat it here because it was evident on that play as well, Nick. He's in the backfield. He sees what's developing and what's not developing, and he's instantly making his first move right there without pausing. There's not a lot of dancing going on for him in the backfield.
Yeah, a lot on the shoulders of Nathaniel Pete. He was the only running back that the Cowboys came away with on draft weekend. Maybe the expectation was that they would have used a high draft pick on a guy in the backfield, but instead they come away with Pete in the undrafted ranks.
And being from Missouri, University of Missouri, he obviously has some experience against pros in the SEC.
Just a couple of them, right? Here's Trey Lance. He's looking to push it downfield.
He's
got a guy. Will he be able to come down with it? It's intercepted.
And
that's Caelen Carson, the walking seatbelt.
#seatbelt. You know, at this point, Nick, receivers are going to not only need a seatbelt, they're going to need an airbag light, okay? Because they are up against it when they come against Caelen Carson. The Wake Forest product, he is sticky in coverage, he is physical, and he has the instincts and the demeanor to make life very difficult for whomever he lines up against.
Yeah, and that's tough for Trey Lance. He hasn't found an opportunity to really push the ball downfield yet here at camp. He finally does to the new addition, Kelvin Harmon, but it's Caelen Carson that's able to come away with the ball at the end of the day. So here's Dak Prescott. He's looking to push it downfield too, and he's got Jalen Tolbert on an out route. Perfectly run there from number one. So he's rocking that shiny new visor you see walking right in front of us. Jalen Tolbert, big year for him.
You know, all we're seeing is good things from Jalen Tolbert as this camp starts, and he's really just rolling over the positive energy and positive vibes and production that he put on tape last season. So looking for another step forward for that young man.
So here's Deron Bland now on the field.
Uh-oh.
Dak Prescott killing something at the line. We'll see what he comes up with after the snap. He's in the shotgun here with Royce Freeman to his right. As Mike Zimmer, he sends Donovan Wilson on a blitz. He's going to have to get rid of the ball quick, but that's Tyron Billy-Johnson coming back to the ball, making a leaping grab, and he's making sure everybody knows about it.
Tyron Billy-Johnson, he is having himself a day today. But speaking of Mike Zimmer's defense, you talk about someone who's a master of disguise. You had a 3-linebacker set. You had all three bluffing the blitz. Overshown drops out, and then you had Donovan Wilson go into the backfield with that partial blitz, and it put Dak Prescott under pressure. But guess what? Dak Prescott, he knows how to process quickly with the best of them, so was able to get that ball out. Tyron Billy-Johnson rewarded him.
Watch for these situational blitzes from Mike Zimmer. I think that's going to be a really interesting wrinkle to unfold as his defense gets acclimated during the season. So here's Dak Prescott under center. It's play action. He's looking to his right side. He was looking for Tyron Billy-Johnson, but he checks it down to Malik Davis for a completion. Tyron Billy-Johnson, I think the defense understood where he was at. They made sure to get two guys on him.
Yeah, they're not going to get beat too many times by one guy unless that guy's name is CeeDee Lamb. But even then, the Cowboys defense has some firepower by the name of Deron Bland and, of course, Trayvon Diggs when he gets back on the field.
Yeah, what about Malik Davis? I mean, this is a guy who has shown that he has firepower whenever given the opportunity, but last year stuck on the practice squad. How can he kind of integrate himself in the mix at RB2?
You know, the former Gator, he impressed in his first year as a rookie. He was able to come in because of injury, and he showed some things. But like you said, he struggled in year 2. Here we are going into year 3. He has the ability, kind of the same archetype as a Rico Dowdle, but he can get some things done. He just needs to stack good days.
And speaking of Rico Dowdle, he takes the handoff to the right side, and it's quickly accounted for, as well as a host of defensive linemen that we're pushing out. That's all for this edition of Training Camp Live. We're going to be here all month here in Oxnard, California. We're just getting started. Pads come on Tuesday, so be sure to check back in.